Circles, sliders, spinners. 3 different objects that represent the music in different ways and that you'll be using all the time in your maps. Well, 2 of them anyways. You may have seen the terms active and passive notes or beats used in some mod posts, which by itself is a fairly simple concept, but I've seen quite a few beginner mappers neglect this concept, so I'm going to take some time to talk about it quickly. Active beats refers to the beats in a map that the player has an active role in playing, i.e. the notes that the players click in a map. There are 2 of these in OS. There are the circles and the slider head. We don't care about the rest of the slider, we don't care about the slider body or the tail, we only care about the slider head when we talk about active mapping. Passive beats are the exact opposite of active beats, i.e. they are notes in the map that the player doesn't have an active role in playing, i.e. these are the slider tails, the slider reverse arrows, the slider ticks, and the tails of spinners. Note that the head of a spinner isn't an active or passive beat, because spinners are a little weird. That just leaves the slider body and the head and body of a spinner, which are played by holding down a key in OS. So I refer to these as half an active beat. No, I'm just kidding, I just call them held beats. What should you do with this information then? Well, since active beats are the ones that the players actually play, then they should be used with the melody of the song, on the strong beats of the song. Since the more significant beats of a song are typically on the white ticks, most of the time in maps you will see sliders start on a white tick and end on a red tick. You will rarely see maps start sliders on red ticks and end on white ticks, because that is poor emphasis in terms of active and passive mapping. If I play this slowly, you can hear how the white ticks are much stronger in the song than on the red ticks. I was playing this part of the map at the start of the video, which, if you didn't work out already, isn't part of the ranked version of the map. I just made this in about 30 seconds to show you what a bad example was. This is a bad example because I have a slider end mapped to the downbeat, which is a passive beat, and then for the rest of these I have sliders starting on red ticks and ending on white ticks, which is poor rhythm emphasis if I play this for you slowly. If you want to know more about rhythm choices, you should watch Pishyfat's video. It's just amazing. Keep in mind though that passive beats can still be used to map rhythms when appropriate. It should be easy for you to figure out why in this map I decided to use 2 separate spinners instead of 1 long spinner. Let's try and place these objects in some sort of order then. In my opinion, a slider has more of an impact in a song than a circle. However, if we're just looking at the active beats in a song, then a circle has the same impact as a slider head. It's the fact that the slider comes with a slider body and a slider tail, and sometimes reverse arrows and slider ticks, that makes it more significant than a single circle. If I just use a circle, then there is only 1 beat in a song being mapped. However, if I use a slider, there are now 2 beats in the song being mapped, which is why a slider is more significant than a circle. Here are 2 kick sliders. These map 4 beats in the song by 2 active notes and 2 passive notes. If I replace these with a stream, these map the 4 same beats. However, this is a more intense pattern than this, because here we have 4 active notes and no passive notes. The intensity therefore is pretty much determined by the number of active beats in a given time and then the number of passive beats in a given time. We can order the passive notes in intensity though. I would consider reverse arrows more significant than slider tails, because on a slider tail you are forced to change directions in the opposite way. The player still has to do something when they reach a reverse arrow, whereas for a slider tail, usually the thing that makes the player change direction is another circle or a slider, which is an active note, which is definitely more active than a slider tail. We're going to look at one quick example on how I used active and passive mapping in my upcoming map. We're just going to look at this slider here. I started this slider on this white tick since this is where the vocal notes start. And then I didn't want to release the slider since the vocals are held throughout this entire part of the song. So instead I placed a reverse arrow here to map the piano and the downbeat, which is more significant than a tail. To end it off, I would personally say that circles and slider heads have the same amount of significance, which are more significant than reverse arrows, which are more significant than slider tails, which are more significant than spinner tails, which are more significant than slider ticks.